Imagine you are lying in bed after a long day, exhausted but unable to sleep. Your mind replays past mistakes, worries about the future, and holds on to things that upset you. No matter how much you try to push these thoughts away, they keep coming back. It feels like you are trapped in an endless cycle of negativity. But have you ever wondered why your mind clings to these thoughts? Why does negativity feel so much stronger than peace? Have you ever noticed how one small negative comment can ruin your entire day, while 100 good things go unnoticed? Why does your mind hold on to pain longer than happiness? Why is it so difficult to let go of things that don't serve you? If negative energy comes from the mind, then is it possible to train the mind to stop absorbing it? Think about a time when someone's words or actions affected you deeply. Maybe they insulted you, ignored you, or betrayed your trust. That one moment kept replaying in your mind, making you angry or sad long after it was over. But the person who hurt you had already moved on. So who is really carrying the burden? You or them? This is the trap of negative energy. It is not what happens to you that creates suffering, but how much you allow it to stay in your mind. Welcome to Wisdom Woven, where we uncover deep truths to free the mind from suffering. If you have ever felt weighed down by negativity, this video will show you how to remove it from your life using Buddhist wisdom. But before we continue, I have one request. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of people subscribe. If you find this valuable, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to support us. And most importantly, share your thoughts in the comments. Your experiences and insights matter. Negative energy is not something that comes from outside. It is something that the mind creates and holds on to. Buddhism teaches that the root of suffering lies in attachment, and this includes attachment to negative thoughts. The more you resist negativity, the stronger it becomes. But when you start observing it without reacting, it begins to lose its power. The mind is like a mirror. If it is covered in dust, it cannot reflect things clearly. The dust represents all the negative emotions, past regrets, and painful experiences you have accumulated over time. If you do not clean it, the reflection remains distorted. But the moment you start clearing away the dust, you see life as it truly is. The good news is, you don't need anything external to clean this mirror. Everything you need is already within you. Buddhist teachings emphasize impermanence, the idea that everything changes, including thoughts and emotions. No matter how intense a feeling is, it will pass. But when you attach to negativity, you give it permission to stay longer. Imagine holding on to a burning coal, believing that it will hurt the person who wronged you. In reality, it is only burning your own hand. To free the mind from negative energy, one must first understand its nature. It is not about avoiding negativity, but about changing the way you respond to it. Many people believe that removing negativity means forcing themselves to be positive all the time. But forced positivity is just another form of resistance. The real solution is awareness. When you see negativity for what it is, just passing thoughts with no real power over you, it begins to fade on its own. This journey is not about ignoring pain, but about understanding it deeply. When you become aware of your emotions without being controlled by them, you reclaim your power. Negative energy can no longer control a mind that is fully awake. Stay with us, because in the next part, we will explore how the mind itself creates negativity and how you can break free from it. The source within, how the mind creates negativity. Sit down for a moment. Breathe. Let go of everything else and just listen. There is something important you must understand. The source of your suffering is not out there. It is not in the people who hurt you, the situations that went wrong, or the things you lost. The source is within you, your own mind. The mind is a storyteller. It takes events from your life and creates narratives around them. Someone ignored your message, and the mind says, they don't respect you. A mistake from the past resurfaces, and the mind whispers, you are a failure. You sit in silence, and the mind fills it with worries about the future. But tell me, are these stories real, or are they just thoughts passing through your mind like clouds in the sky? Most people do not realize this. They believe every thought that arises, as if the mind is always telling the truth. But the mind is not an honest friend. It is like a river, constantly flowing, changing, and sometimes carrying dirt along with it. If you believe every negative thought, you will suffer. But if you learn to step back and simply watch, you will see that no thought has any real power over you. unless you give it power. Imagine this. You are walking through a market and someone shouts an insult at you. What happens next? If you take it personally, anger rises. You carry those words in your mind for hours, maybe even days. But if you understand that their words are just sounds, just vibrations in the air, they lose all meaning. The insult only has power because your mind grabs onto it and makes it personal. In reality, it is nothing. Now, think about how often you do this to yourself. Not just with words from others, but with your own thoughts. You recall an embarrassing moment from years ago, and suddenly, shame rises in your chest. You imagine a future problem that has not even happened yet, and stress fills your mind. This is how suffering is created, not by life itself, but by your attachment to these thoughts. Buddhism teaches that the mind is like a wild horse. If left uncontrolled, it will run in every direction, dragging you with it. One moment, it takes you to regret about the past. The next, it throws you into fear about the future. But if you learn to hold the reins, to observe the mind instead of reacting to it, you will no longer be at its mercy. Think about the last time you were truly happy. Maybe it was during a walk, listening to music, or watching the sunset. What was missing in those moments? The mind was quiet. There was no overthinking, no self-judgment, no unnecessary thoughts. Happiness is not something that comes from outside. It is simply what remains when the mind stops creating negativity. But most people live trapped in their own mental noise. They wake up in the morning, and the mind starts talking. I am tired. I don't want to go to work. I am not good enough. And they believe it. They carry these thoughts all day, allowing them to shape their mood, their actions, and their entire experience of life. But have you ever questioned this voice? Who is speaking, and who is listening? If these thoughts were truly you, then who is the one noticing them? Once you start questioning the mind, you create space between you and your thoughts. This space is freedom. It allows you to see thoughts as passing clouds, instead of getting caught in the storm. You may still feel emotions, but they will no longer control you. The moment you realize that you are not your thoughts, negativity loses its grip on you. Let me give you another example. Imagine sitting by a river. The water flows past you, carrying leaves, branches, and sometimes dirt. Now, what if you jumped into the river and tried to grab everything that floated by? You would exhaust yourself. But if you just sit and watch, everything passes naturally. This is how the mind works. If you try to fight every negative thought, you will drown in them. But if you learn to observe without reacting, they will come and go on their own. Many people ask, how can I stop negative thoughts? But that is the wrong question. You cannot stop thoughts, just as you cannot stop the river from flowing. The real question is, how can I stop believing in them? The moment you stop identifying with every thought, you break free. You begin to see that most of the suffering in your life is not caused by reality, but by the stories your mind creates about reality. This does not mean you will never feel pain. Pain is a part of life. Loss, disappointment, uncertainty, these things will happen. But suffering is optional. Suffering is what happens when the mind resists pain, when it clings to negativity instead of letting it pass. A Zen master once said, pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. And that choice is made in the mind. So what can you do? Start watching your thoughts. Do not fight them, do not fear them, and do not follow them. Just observe. When a negative thought arises, ask yourself, is this true? Do I need to believe this? Often, you will see that these thoughts are just echoes of past fears, not reality. When you wake up in the morning and the mind starts complaining, simply listen without engaging. When an old regret appears, do not push it away. Just notice it and let it pass. When someone says something hurtful, pause before reacting. See how much lighter life becomes when you stop feeding negativity. This is the path to freedom, not by changing the outside world, but by understanding the nature of your own mind. The more you practice awareness, the more you realize that negativity is not something that happens to you. It is something you create. And if you can create it, you can also let it go. Stay with me, because in the next part, we will go even deeper. You will learn how to let go of toxic attachments, the hidden roots of negative energy that keep you trapped, the illusion of control, letting go of toxic attachments. Sit with me for a moment. Take a deep breath. Feel the air entering your lungs, then leaving. Notice how it comes and goes without effort. You do not hold on to the breath, nor do you force it away. It moves naturally, like the wind through the trees. But now, imagine trying to grab the air, to trap it in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips through your fingers. This is the nature of attachment. The more you cling, the more you suffer. Your mind is full of attachments, people, memories, expectations, regrets. You hold on to them as if they are solid, unchanging, and permanent. But is that really true? Think of a person you once cared for deeply. Maybe a friend, a lover, a family member. There was a time when they were a central part of your life. But over time, things changed. Perhaps they left, or maybe the bond faded. Did you have control over that? Now think of something that once made you happy. A favorite toy from childhood, a dream you chased for years, or a place you loved to visit. Does it still bring you the same joy? Or has time changed your feelings? Everything you once held on to has either changed or disappeared. Yet, you still cling to the illusion that you can control what stays and what goes. This is the source of suffering. Buddhism teaches that attachment is like carrying a heavy bag on a long journey. At first, you do not notice the weight. You believe it is necessary, that you cannot walk without it. But as the journey continues, the burden becomes clear. Your back aches, your steps slow, and yet, you refuse to let go. Why? Because you believe the bag is part of you. You believe that without it, you will be lost. But let me ask you, if you were to drop the bag, what would happen? Would you fall? Would you disappear? No. You would feel lighter, freer, able to walk without pain. The bag was never part of you. It was something you chose to carry. And in the same way, your attachments are not part of you. They are things you carry, believing they define you. But they don't. Many people fear letting go because they believe it means losing something important. But what if letting go does not mean loss, but freedom? Imagine holding onto a rope tied to a burning ship. The fire grows, the smoke blinds you, and the heat scorches your hands. But you refuse to let go because you believe that ship is your home. You believe it is safer to hold on, even as it destroys you. But the moment you release the rope, you fall into the cool ocean. You realize you were never trapped. The only thing keeping you in pain was your own grip. So many people are trapped by toxic attachments, relationships that drain them, memories that haunt them, dreams that no longer serve them. They stay because they are afraid. Afraid of emptiness. Afraid of loneliness. Afraid of what comes after letting go. But emptiness is not something to fear. It is space for something new to enter. A cup must be emptied before it can be filled. Have you ever held on to anger towards someone who hurt you? You replay their words, their actions, over and over in your mind, keeping the pain alive. But do they feel your anger? No. It is you who suffers. Holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. You do not need to carry that poison. You do not need to suffer. Letting go does not mean you stop caring. It does not mean you forget. It means you choose peace over pain. It means you stop giving power to things that do not nourish your soul. A bird cannot fly while gripping a heavy stone. In the same way, you cannot be free while holding on to burdens that are not yours to carry. If you have lost something, if someone has left your life, if things did not go as you planned, ask yourself, is this pain coming from the event itself, or from your refusal to accept it? The past is like a river. It has already flowed away, but you stand at the shore, trying to scoop it back with your hands. Let it go. Let it become part of the ocean. You are not meant to live in yesterday. True freedom comes when you stop trying to control what is beyond you. You cannot control how others think, how they feel, how they act. You cannot stop time, cannot hold on to moments, cannot force life to move the way you want. But you can control one thing, your own mind. You can choose not to suffer. You can choose to release the weight. The wind does not mourn the leaves that fall from the trees. The ocean does not grieve the waves that return to the shore. Life is movement, change, impermanence. What is meant for you will stay. What is not will go. And that is okay. Because the space left behind is not emptiness. It is possibility. Sit with this thought. Breathe. Feel the weight you have been carrying. And ask yourself, do you really need it? Or have you simply been afraid to let go? The power of mindfulness. Watching thoughts without judgment. Sit down for a moment. Close your eyes. Breathe in. Breathe out. Now, observe your mind. See how thoughts come and go, like clouds moving across the sky. Some are soft and light. Others are dark and heavy. But have you ever wondered, who is watching these thoughts? Who is the one aware of them? Most people live their entire lives caught in their thoughts, believing every single one. If a thought says, I am not good enough, they believe it. If a thought says, that person hates me, they feel hurt. If a thought says, my life is a mess, they lose hope. But thoughts are not reality. They are only passing images in the mind, like a dream that feels real but disappears the moment you wake up. A man once came to the Buddha and said, my mind is restless. It is filled with anger, sadness, and worry. How can I find peace? The Buddha smiled and gave him a simple answer. Sit and watch your thoughts as if you were watching a river. Do not fight them. Do not follow them. Just watch. The man was confused. But won't the thoughts still come? He asked. The Buddha nodded. Yes, but when you stop fighting them, they lose their power over you. Just like a fire dies when you stop feeding it. This is mindfulness. It is not about controlling thoughts. It is about watching them without judgment. It is about realizing that you are not your thoughts. You are the one observing them. Imagine sitting by a busy road. Cars are rushing past, some fast, some slow, some loud, some quiet. Now, imagine stepping into the road and trying to stop the cars. It would be exhausting, wouldn't it? But what if you simply sat by the roadside and watched? The cars would still come and go, but you would not be caught in the traffic. This is how the mind works. Negative thoughts, painful memories, fears, and worries, they are all cars on the road. If you try to stop them, they will only grow stronger. But if you sit back and observe them, they lose their control over you. A man once asked a Zen master, how do I get rid of negative thoughts? The master laughed and said, why do you want to get rid of them? Let them come. Let them go. Just don't invite them in for tea. This is the secret. Do not invite negative thoughts to stay. When a thought comes, simply say, ah, there you are, and watch it leave. Do not fight it. Do not believe it. Do not push it away. Just watch. Many people think mindfulness means having no thoughts. But this is not true. The mind will always create thoughts, just as the heart beats and the lungs breathe. The goal is not to stop thinking. It is to stop being controlled by thoughts. Try this now. Sit still. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Now, wait for the next thought to appear. Do not search for it. Just wait. Do you see? The moment you watch your mind, thoughts slow down. The moment you become aware, negativity loses its grip. Buddhism teaches that suffering comes from attachment. If a painful thought arises and you grab onto it, it will hurt you. But if you simply observe it, it will pass. It is like holding a rope tied to a wild horse. The more you pull, the more the horse fights back. But if you let go, the horse runs for a while, then stops on its own. The same is true for emotions. Anger, sadness, fear, these are just passing storms in the sky of the mind. No storm lasts forever. If you do not react, it will disappear on its own. A student once asked his master, how do I stop feeling anxious? The master took him to a river. He pointed at the flowing water and said, look, do you see how the river never holds on to anything? It lets everything pass. Be like the river. When you let go of thoughts, you become free. The mind, once filled with chaos, becomes calm. The heart, once filled with heaviness, becomes light. You do not need to force yourself to be positive. You do not need to push negativity away. All you need to do is watch. Watch your mind, without judgment. Watch your emotions, without fear. Watch your thoughts, without believing them. And slowly, like a fog clearing in the morning sun, the negativity will disappear. Breathe in, breathe out, and just watch. Cleansing the mind, the Buddhist practice of detachment. Sit down for a moment. Breathe. Let everything around you fade into the background. Now, ask yourself, how much of your suffering comes from things that happened in the past? How much comes from fears about the future? The mind is like a room filled with old, dusty furniture. The more you hold on to, the less space you have to move freely. Detachment is not about throwing everything away. It is about making space for peace. You might believe that your negative thoughts are part of who you are, that they define you. But what if I told you they are just passing clouds in the vast sky of your mind? Imagine a river. It flows naturally, never holding on to anything. Leaves fall into it, but the river does not stop. The problem begins when the mind tries to grab the leaves, holding on to them as if they are important. Thoughts, emotions, and memories are like those leaves. If you let them pass, they cannot weigh you down. But most people do not let them pass. They pick up old leaves, examine them, and keep them in their pockets. They hold on to past insults, painful memories, and fears as if they are treasures. If someone hurt them 10 years ago, they still replay that scene today, feeling the same pain over and over. But is the pain coming from the past, or is it coming from the act of holding on to it? A person once came to the Buddha, angry and bitter. He complained about all the people who had wronged him. The Buddha simply smiled and asked, "If someone hands you a gift and you refuse to take it, who does it belong to?" The man thought for a moment and said, "To the one who tried to give it." The Buddha nodded. "Then why do you accept the gift of suffering from others? Why do you carry their insults and cruelty with you?" Detachment does not mean that you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. If a person throws a stone at you, you do not hold on to it forever, examining it every day, reminding yourself of how much it hurt. You let it go. Yet, when it comes to emotions, people do the opposite. They pick up every stone, carry it in their pockets, and wonder why they feel so heavy. Look at nature. The tree does not cry when its leaves fall. The river does not complain when the water moves on. Everything changes, and this change is natural. But the human mind resists change. It wants things to stay the same. It wants happiness to last forever and pain to never come. But this is not how life works. When you resist the natural flow of life, suffering begins. You have seen a candle before. The flame flickers, moves, and finally disappears. Thoughts are the same. They arise, stay for a while, and fade away. But if you place your hand over the flame, it burns you. In the same way, holding on to negative thoughts burns your peace away. Let the thoughts come and go, like the flame of the candle. Imagine a glass of muddy water. If you stir it constantly, the mud never settles, and the water stays cloudy. But if you stop stirring and let it sit, the mud sinks to the bottom, and the water becomes clear. The mind is the same. If you constantly stir it with worries, fears, and regrets, it remains cloudy. But if you learn to be still, the negativity settles, and clarity appears. Many people believe that peace comes from changing the outside world. They think, if I had more money, if I lived somewhere else, if people treated me better, then I would be happy. But happiness does not come from changing what is outside. It comes from changing how you respond inside. The world will always have noise, chaos, and distractions. But if your mind is calm, none of it can disturb you. A monk was once insulted by a man. The man yelled, criticized, and tried to provoke him. But the monk just smiled and said nothing. Later, someone asked him, "Why did you not defend yourself? Why did you let him say those things?" The monk laughed and replied, "If someone places a spoonful of salt in a small cup of water, the water becomes undrinkable. But if you place the same salt in a vast lake, it has no effect. My mind is like a lake. His words could not change it. Your mind must become like that lake. When it is small and reactive, even a tiny disturbance makes it bitter. But when it is vast and detached, nothing can pollute it. Letting go does not mean running away. It means facing everything with awareness, but refusing to be controlled by it. If you see anger inside you, recognize it, but do not feed it. If you notice fear, acknowledge it, but do not invite it to stay. The more you observe your emotions without identifying with them, the weaker they become. Detachment is a practice, not a one-time decision. Some days, you will feel completely free. Other days, old emotions will return. That is natural. The goal is not to erase emotions, but to stop being their prisoner. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that sees them come and go. The great masters do not have fewer problems than others. They simply do not hold on to them. Their secret is simple. They allow things to happen without resistance. They let joy come without clinging to it. They let pain come without fearing it. They are like the sky, open and limitless, allowing everything to pass through without holding on. So now, ask yourself, what are you holding on to? What thoughts, memories, or emotions have become heavy stones in your mind? Take a deep breath. Release them. You do not need to carry them anymore. Transforming energy, turning negativity into inner strength. Sit with me for a moment. Close your eyes. Breathe in. Breathe out. Now, think of the last time you felt overwhelmed by negativity. Maybe it was anger, frustration, sadness, or fear. Maybe someone's words hurt you, or a situation didn't go as you planned. In that moment, the negativity felt powerful, didn't it? It took over your mind, changed your mood, and made you feel helpless. But tell me, where is that negativity now? Can you hold it in your hands? Can you touch it? Can you find it anywhere outside your mind? Negativity is like a storm. It comes suddenly, covers the sky, and makes everything look dark. But have you ever seen a storm last forever? No matter how strong it is, the sky always clears. The sun always returns. What if I told you that the storm was never a problem? The real problem is forgetting that behind the clouds, the sky was always there, calm, untouched, waiting. That sky is your true nature. The storm is just passing thoughts. If you understand this, negativity can never overpower you again. Most people try to fight negativity. They resist it, fear it, or try to push it away. But what happens when you fight the storm? Does it disappear? No. The more you resist, the stronger it seems. But if you simply watch the storm, without running from it or clinging to it, you realize something powerful. The storm was never stronger than you. It only had power because you believed in it. Let's say someone insults you. Their words hit you like a slap. You feel anger rising. You want to react. But stop for a moment and ask yourself, where's the insult? The words have already passed. They exist only as an echo in your mind. If you do not grab onto them, they vanish like smoke. But if you keep repeating them in your mind, if you keep replaying the moment, you are the one keeping the insult alive. The words ended long ago, but you carry them forward, allowing them to hurt you again and again. Do you see? The negativity is not in the words. It is in the attachment to the words. Now, here is the secret to transforming negative energy into strength. Do not reject it. Do not run from it. Instead, let it teach you. Every moment of suffering, every painful thought, is a teacher in disguise. If someone's words anger you, it is not because of the words. It is because there is something within you that was already waiting to be triggered. The real question is not, why did they say that? But why did it affect me? If you look deeply, you will find the answer. Maybe it touched an old wound, an insecurity, a fear. But once you see it clearly, you gain power over it. Buddhism teaches that everything is energy. A thought, an emotion, even a word, it is all energy. But energy is not good or bad. It is only movement. Fire can burn a house down, or it can cook a meal. The fire does not decide. You do. Negativity is the same. It can destroy you, or it can be transformed into wisdom, strength, and peace. The choice is yours. A person who has mastered their mind is like a mountain. Strong winds may blow, but the mountain does not move. Insults, disappointments, fears, they come and go, but the mind remains still. This is not because the person feels nothing. It is because they see through the illusion. They understand that negativity is not something real. It is just passing clouds in the sky. Imagine a river flowing down a mountain. It does not stop when it meets a rock. It does not become angry. It simply moves around it and continues its path. This is how the wise handle negativity. They do not stop and fight every obstacle. They flow. They let things come and go without resistance. They understand that fighting only creates more struggle, but awareness brings peace. Ask yourself, how much of your suffering comes from reality, and how much comes from the way your mind reacts to it? If someone ignores your message, does the pain come from the silence, or from the story your mind creates about the silence? They don't care about me. I am not important. I must have done something wrong. But none of this is real. It is only a storm in the mind. And like all storms, it will pass, if you let it. The next time negativity rises, do not run. Do not react. Do not resist. Instead, observe. Watch it like you would watch a cloud in the sky. Ask yourself, where did this come from? Why is it here? What is it teaching me? If you listen carefully, you will find that negativity is not your enemy. It is a guide, showing you the places where you are still holding on. And once you see this clearly, you can finally let go. When a tree is struck by strong winds, it bends, but it does not break. Its roots are deep, and so it remains standing. If your roots are deep in awareness, no storm of negativity can uproot you. You may feel the wind, but you will not be controlled by it. This is true inner strength, not the strength to fight, but the strength to remain still. There is a Zen story of a man who was insulted by another. The man listened silently and then replied, "If someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, who does the gift belong to?" The other person said, "It still belongs to the giver." The man smiled and said, "Then I do not accept your insult, and it remains with you." This is the way of wisdom. Negativity only affects you if you take it in. But if you let it pass, it has no power over you. Now, take a deep breath. Think of all the negativity you have been holding on to. The past regrets, the anger, the fears, the disappointments. And ask yourself, do I need to carry this? If the answer is no, then simply let it go. The sky is waiting behind the clouds. The storm is already fading. All you have to do is stop holding on to it. In the next part, we will go deeper. We will explore how the people and environment around you shape your energy, and how to choose what nourishes your mind instead of what drains it. Stay with me. The journey is not over yet. The influence of surroundings, choosing a positive environment. Sit for a moment and close your eyes. Listen to the sounds around you. The noise of the city, the voices of people, the hum of electricity in the air. All of this enters your mind without permission. The world is always speaking, but the real question is, what is it saying? Is it bringing you peace, or is it filling your mind with restlessness? The mind is like water. When placed in a clear, still pond, it remains pure. But if that same water is poured into a muddy puddle, it becomes dirty. In the same way, your surroundings shape your thoughts, your emotions, and even your energy. If you are surrounded by chaos, negativity, and constant distractions, your mind absorbs it all. But if you choose an environment of peace, your mind naturally becomes calm. Have you ever noticed how your energy changes depending on where you are? In nature, near the ocean, or deep in the mountains, the mind feels light and free. But in a crowded marketplace or a tense workplace, the body tightens and the mind becomes restless. This is not an accident. Everything carries an energy, and that energy affects you more than you realize. Now think about the people around you. Some people bring warmth, like the sun on a cold morning. Others feel like a storm, leaving behind only destruction. If you surround yourself with people who complain, criticize, and spread negativity, their energy will seep into you, even if you don't want it to. You may think you are strong enough to resist it, but over time, their influence will shape the way you see the world. In Buddhism, there is a saying, a single drop of poison in a cup of water makes the whole cup undrinkable. This is how negative surroundings work. It takes only a small amount to change the entire atmosphere of your mind. If you find yourself constantly drained, frustrated, or heavy with emotions that are not your own, it may be time to ask, who and what am I allowing into my space? But choosing a positive environment does not mean running away from the world. You cannot always control where you live, where you work, or the people you encounter. What you can control is how much space they take in your mind. A wise person does not sit in the middle of a fire and hope not to get burned. They step away from the flames. So how do you step away from negativity when it is all around you? The first step is awareness. Pay attention to how you feel in different places, with different people, and even with different forms of entertainment. Does watching the news fill you with fear? Does scrolling through social media make you feel empty? Does being around certain people leave you drained? If the answer is yes, then your mind is absorbing negativity, just like a sponge absorbs water. The next step is creating small spaces of peace. You may not be able to change the world, but you can create small islands of calm within it. Maybe it is a quiet corner in your home, a park where you walk every morning, or even a few minutes of silence before bed. These small moments of peace act as medicine, cleansing the mind from the toxins of the world. Another powerful practice is choosing your company wisely. In Buddhist teachings, it is said that the people you surround yourself with are like the wind. If you stand with those who lift you up, you will rise. If you stand with those who drag you down, you will fall. This does not mean abandoning people who are struggling, but it does mean recognizing who feeds your energy and who drains it. Be mindful of the words that enter your ears. Negative speech, gossip, arguments, and constant complaints act like invisible chains, weighing down the mind. Every word carries a vibration, and those vibrations settle into your thoughts. Instead of filling your space with noise, choose words that bring clarity. Speak with kindness, listen with presence, and protect your mind from unnecessary disturbances. Even your physical space affects your energy. A cluttered home often reflects a cluttered mind. If your surroundings are messy, filled with distractions, and overflowing with things you don't need, your mind feels the same way. Cleaning your space is not just about organization. It is about creating room for peace. And then, there is nature. the greatest teacher of balance. If you ever feel overwhelmed, go where there are trees, where the wind moves freely, where the earth is not covered in concrete. Nature does not rush, does not stress, does not cling. It simply exists. And when you sit in that silence, your mind remembers what it feels like to be free. The truth is, you do not need to escape the world to find peace. You only need to stop letting the world control your mind. When you choose your surroundings with awareness, when you create small moments of stillness, when you protect your energy like a sacred flame, negativity loses its power. Peace is not found in a distant land or a perfect life. It is found in the choices you make, in the spaces you create, and in the people you welcome into your life. Choose wisely, breaking free from past wounds, healing with Buddhist wisdom. Sit with me for a moment. Breathe in and breathe out. Feel the weight inside you. The memories, the pain, the things you wish had gone differently. Do you feel how they sit inside your heart, like heavy stones at the bottom of a river? No matter how much time has passed, they do not float away. They stay. They shape the way you see the world. They shape the way you see yourself. The past has a strange power, doesn't it? Even when it is long gone, it still speaks. A harsh word from years ago still echoes in your mind. A betrayal still burns like fire. A regret still whispers, if only. But tell me, where's the past right now? Can you touch it? Can you hold it in your hands? No. The past is nothing but a shadow in the mind, and yet, it controls so much of your life. There was once a man who carried a heavy bag everywhere he went. His back ached, his legs trembled, but he never put it down. One day, someone asked him, "What is inside this bag?" The man opened it, and to his surprise, it was empty. He had been carrying weight that did not even exist. That is how we live. We carry pain that is no longer real. We suffer, not because of what happened, but because we refuse to let it go. But how does one let go of the past? It is not as simple as saying, "I will forget." The mind does not forget on command. It clings. It replays. It feeds on pain. This is where wisdom is needed. Buddhism teaches that suffering comes from attachment. When we hold on to past wounds, we are feeding them, giving them energy to stay alive. To break free, we must first see that we are the ones holding on. Think of a tree standing in a storm. The wind is strong, the rain is heavy, but the tree does not try to fight the storm. It does not curse the wind. It simply bends, allowing the storm to pass. And when the storm is gone, the tree is still there, standing tall. You are the tree. The past is the storm. It has already passed, but if you keep reliving it, you are inviting it back. You are letting it shake you long after it is over. Some will say, "But my pain is real. What happened to me was unfair." Yes, it was. The world is not always fair. People hurt each other. Mistakes are made. But does holding on to the pain change what happened? Or does it only hurt you more? Forgiveness is not about saying that what happened was okay. It is about saying, "I will no longer let this pain define me." A Zen master once told his students, "Imagine a bird trapped in a cage. The door is open, but the bird does not fly. It has lived in the cage for so long that it does not realize it is free." This is how most people live. The pain of the past is a cage. The door is open, but we do not fly. We stay inside, suffering, because we do not believe we can be free. What if I told you that healing is not about time, but about awareness? People say, time heals all wounds. But if that were true, then why do some people carry the same pain for a lifetime? It is not time that heals. It is understanding. The moment you truly see that the past is nothing but a thought, a memory, a fading dream, you loosen its grip on you. Right now, in this moment, you are free. The past is not here. The pain is only in the mind. The question is, will you keep carrying it, or will you put it down? Healing begins the moment you decide to no longer be a prisoner of what is gone. Look at the sky. It does not hold onto the clouds. They come and they go. The mind should be the same. Thoughts will come. Memories will rise. But let them pass. Do not hold them. Do not make them your identity. You are not your past. You are not your wounds. You are something deeper, something untouchable. Let go. Not for them. Not because they deserve it. Let go for you. Because you deserve peace. The path of compassion, releasing resentment and anger. Sit with me for a moment. Let go of everything you are holding on to, just for now. Close your eyes, take a breath, and ask yourself, who is the one suffering? Is it truly you, or is it the weight of anger, resentment, and hurt that you refuse to put down? People will wrong you. Some will betray your trust, some will speak cruel words, and some will walk away when you need them the most. This is the nature of the world. You cannot stop others from acting in hurtful ways, but you can decide whether or not to carry their actions with you. What is heavier, the pain they caused you once, or the pain you relive every day by holding on to it? Think about the last time you were angry at someone. What happened? Maybe they insulted you, ignored you, or acted unfairly. In that moment, the anger felt justified. It felt like a shield, protecting you from weakness. But what happened after? The moment passed, but the anger stayed. It followed you, whispering in your mind, stealing your peace, controlling your emotions. You replayed the situation over and over, feeding the fire, letting it grow stronger. But did it change anything? Did it undo what happened? Buddhism teaches that anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. You may think that holding on to resentment gives you power, but in reality, it only deepens your suffering. Every time you recall the hurt, you allow the same wound to open again. Every time you dwell on the injustice, you give more of your precious energy to the very thing that harmed you. This is not power. This is imprisonment. There is another way, a way that frees you, a way that allows you to breathe again. It is called compassion. Many misunderstand this word. They think compassion means excusing the wrongdoing, allowing others to hurt them without consequence. But true compassion is not about the other person at all. It is about you. It is about freeing yourself from the chains of resentment so that you no longer suffer. To release anger, one must first understand it. Anger does not come from outside. It arises within you. If a person insults you in a language you do not understand, do you feel hurt? No, because the words hold no meaning for you. The pain is not in their words. It is in your interpretation, your attachment, your expectation that they should have treated you differently. But the world does not follow your expectations. People act according to their own nature, not according to what you wish them to be. If someone throws a stone at you, does the stone hold a grudge? Does it seek revenge? No. It simply follows the force with which it was thrown. People are the same. When someone harms you, it is because they are controlled by their own suffering, their own ignorance. They are like a flame that burns everything around them, including themselves. If you take their fire into your heart, you become like them. But if you step back, if you refuse to carry their fire, you remain untouched. Compassion is not weakness. It is the greatest strength. It is the ability to see beyond the immediate wound and recognize that every person, even those who harm you, are acting from their own pain. This does not mean you must allow them to continue hurting you. It simply means you do not need to carry their actions with you. You can set down the burden. You can let go. Forgiveness is not for them. It is for you. It is the decision to no longer suffer over something that is already in the past. It is the realization that carrying anger is like holding on to a burning coal. You are the one getting burned. When you forgive, you do not erase what happened. You simply refuse to let it define your present moment. You refuse to let it steal your peace. The Buddha once told a story of a man who was struck by an arrow. Instead of seeking immediate help, the man demanded to know who shot the arrow, why they did it, what kind of wood the arrow was made from. In his obsession with the details, he forgot the most important thing. He was still wounded. His suffering continued because he refused to pull the arrow out. This is what anger does. It keeps the arrow inside you, making the pain last far longer than necessary. So now, I ask you, will you pull out the arrow? Will you let go of the resentment that has lived in your heart for so long? Will you choose peace over the illusion of revenge? The past cannot be changed, but your response to it can. Look at the sky. No matter how dark the storm, the clouds always pass. The sky remains untouched, vast, and open. Your mind can be like this. The thoughts, the emotions, the pain, they are just passing clouds. If you attach to them, you become the storm. But if you watch them without grasping, they will pass, and you will realize that you were the sky all along. This is the path of compassion, not for the sake of those who hurt you, but for your own freedom, not to excuse their actions, but to release yourself from their weight. Because you deserve peace. Because you deserve to be free. The art of non-reaction, mastering emotional stability. Sit down, breathe, feel the air into your body and leave again. Just for a moment, do nothing but be here. The world outside is moving fast. People are shouting, cars are honking, someone is complaining, someone is arguing. But you are still. You are just here. Can you feel the difference? This is the beginning of mastering emotional stability. Imagine you are walking through a marketplace. A man insults you out of nowhere. You do not know him. You have never met him. Yet, his words sting. You feel anger rising inside. Your mind races with thoughts. Why did he say that? Who does he think he is? But pause for a moment. What if he simply walked away? What if you let his words float past you like the wind? The moment you stop reacting, his words lose all power. They become meaningless, just sounds in the air. This is what Buddhism teaches about emotions. They are like waves in the ocean, strong, unpredictable, sometimes overwhelming. But you are not the waves. You are the ocean itself. No matter how high the waves rise, the ocean remains vast and unshaken. The key is to stop identifying with every passing emotion. Do not let anger, frustration, or sadness control you. Instead, observe them. Watch them like clouds drifting across the sky. Most people believe that emotional stability comes from controlling emotions, but that is not true. The more you try to control an emotion, the stronger it becomes. Have you ever tried to suppress anger? It only grows. Have you ever tried to ignore sadness? It lingers even longer. Instead of fighting emotions, let them pass. Let them rise and fall naturally. Watch them without attachment. This is the secret to peace. Think of a candle in the wind. If the wind blows too strong, the flame flickers and goes out. But if the candle is placed inside a glass lantern, the flame stays steady. Your mind is like that flame. If you let every little problem, every little insult, every little inconvenience shake you, your peace will disappear. But if you build a strong mind, nothing can extinguish your inner calm. One day, a student came to the Buddha, frustrated and full of complaints. People insult me. They misunderstand me. They try to bring me down. What should I do? The Buddha smiled and asked, if someone offers you a gift, but you refuse to take it, to whom does the gift belong? The student replied, to the one who offered it, of course. The Buddha nodded. Then why do you accept the insults people throw at you? Leave them with the one who gives them. Do not carry them with you. This is the essence of non-reaction. It is not about suppressing emotions. It is about refusing to let them control you. Imagine you are sitting by a river. Leaves fall into the water and float away. Some leaves are bright and beautiful, others are dry and withered. You do not chase the beautiful leaves. You do not cling to the withered ones. You simply watch. This is how you must treat thoughts and emotions. Let them come, let them go, but do not follow them. Many people fear that if they do not react, others will see them as weak. But in truth, nothing is stronger than a mind that remains still in the face of chaos. A person who can control their reaction controls their destiny. When you react, you give power to others. When you stay calm, you keep that power within yourself. Think of the sky. No matter how many storms pass through it, the sky remains untouched. It does not chase the clouds. It does not cling to the sun or the rain. It simply is. You must become like the sky. Let emotions pass through you, but do not become them. Non-reaction is not about being emotionless. It is about being free. Free from anger. Free from worry. Free from the endless cycle of suffering. A peaceful mind is not a mind without thoughts. It is a mind that does not let thoughts disturb it. The world will always test you. People will challenge your peace. Situations will trigger your emotions. But every time you choose stillness instead of reaction, you become stronger. Not physically, not in words, but in spirit. And that is the greatest strength of all. So next time someone tries to drag you into their storm, remember, you do not have to participate. You can be the mountain that stands tall, unmoved by the wind. You can be the ocean that remains deep, no matter how wild the waves become. This is the art of non-reaction. This is true emotional mastery. The silent power of inner peace, sustaining a pure mind. Sit down for a moment. Close your eyes. Listen, not to the world outside, but to the world within. What do you hear? Is it silence, or is it noise? If your mind is still restless, filled with thoughts jumping from past to future, then you have not yet tasted true inner peace. And if you have never known true inner peace, then how can you protect it? Peace is not something you find outside. It is not in a quiet room, not in a distant mountain, not in the absence of problems. Peace is a state of mind, and unless you cultivate it within, no place in the world will ever be peaceful for you. A person can sit in a temple, surrounded by monks, and still feel disturbed. Another can stand in the middle of a busy street and feel completely calm. What makes the difference? It is not the world, it is the mind. Many people think that peace is the opposite of chaos. They believe that if they remove all negative people, avoid conflict, and run away from difficult situations, they will finally be at peace. But this is an illusion. Peace is not the absence of problems. Peace is the presence of wisdom. A mind that understands life deeply cannot be shaken by small things. It does not react to every insult, every worry, every disappointment. It remains still, like a great mountain, unshaken by the winds of the world. Think about water. If you throw a stone into a still lake, ripples will appear. But if the lake is deep enough, the ripples will not last long. The deeper the water, the calmer the surface. The same is true for the mind. A shallow mind is disturbed by every little thing. A deep mind absorbs everything and lets it settle. No matter what happens on the surface, the depths remain still. The problem is that most people live only on the surface. They react without thinking. They chase temporary pleasures and run from temporary pain. They cling to things that will not last and suffer when they lose them. They allow small moments to ruin entire days. This is why peace escapes them. They are trying to calm the waves instead of deepening the water. The way to sustain peace is not by fighting thoughts, nor by escaping life. It is by seeing things as they are. You must watch your mind the way a silent observer watches a river. Let thoughts come, let them go. Do not hold on to them, do not push them away. The moment you realize that thoughts have no real power unless you give them power, you will begin to free yourself from them. Have you ever noticed how a person who constantly talks about their problems never seems to escape them? They relive them again and again, keeping the pain alive. But a person who understands suffering does not waste time complaining. They accept what has happened and focus on what is in their control. They do not let their peace depend on the actions of others. Buddha once said, "You will not be punished for your anger. You will be punished by your anger." This is true for all emotions. Negative energy does not harm the world. It only harms the one who carries it. When you hold on to resentment, you suffer. When you dwell on the past, you suffer. When you chase after things that do not last, you suffer. True peace is when you stop harming yourself with your own mind. But how do you protect your peace once you find it? How do you make sure that the negative energy of the world does not enter your mind again? The answer is awareness. A peaceful mind is not empty. It is full of understanding. It sees negativity, but it does not absorb it. It faces problems, but it does not lose itself in them. It allows emotions to rise and fall without being controlled by them. Imagine sitting in a room, watching a fire burn in front of you. If you do not add wood, the fire will eventually go out. This is how the mind works. When you stop feeding negative thoughts, they lose their strength. But most people do the opposite. They add wood to the fire by overthinking, reacting, and holding on to what should be let go. They wonder why they suffer, but they do not see that they are the ones keeping the suffering alive. A person who has found peace does not react to every little thing. If someone insults them, they do not get angry. If someone ignores them, they do not feel hurt. If a situation does not go as planned, they do not panic. They simply observe, accept, and move forward. Their peace is not something given by the world, so the world cannot take it away. The path to inner peace is not a one-time decision. It is a practice. Just like a garden needs daily care to stay healthy, the mind needs daily awareness to stay clear. Negativity will try to enter, but you must not let it take root. Thoughts will try to disturb you, but you must not let them control you. Challenges will come, but you must not let them shake your foundation. So now ask yourself, do you want to live your life as a shallow puddle, disturbed by every passing wind? Or do you want to become like the deep ocean, where nothing on the surface can touch the peace that lies within? The choice is yours, and the practice begins now. The final purification, a life free from negative energy. Sit with me for a moment. Breathe in, slowly. Feel the air fill your lungs. Now breathe out, gently. Let everything go. The past, the worries, the fears, release them. Do you feel that? That small moment of peace between breaths. That is the space where negativity does not exist. That is the place we are seeking. For so long, you have carried the weight of negative energy. It clings to you like a shadow, whispering doubts, feeding fears, keeping you restless. But have you ever wondered, where does it all go when you stop feeding it? Where does anger go when you stop reacting? Where does sadness go when you stop holding on to it? The answer is simple. It disappears. Like mist in the morning sun, it vanishes when you no longer give it power. Think back to the beginning of this journey. You wanted to remove negative energy, to cleanse your mind. But now, you see the truth. There was never anything to remove. The negativity was never solid. It was never real. It was only a cloud passing through the vast sky of your mind. But you are not the cloud. You are the sky. And the sky is never harmed by what passes through it. You have learned that pain does not come from what happens to you, but from how you hold on to it. Someone insults you, and their words pass in an instant. But if you hold on to those words, they become a wound, replaying in your mind, poisoning your peace. But what happens when you stop holding on? What happens when you let things come and go, without grasping? Freedom. True, lasting freedom. Buddha once said, "You yourself must strive." The Buddhas only point the way. No one can walk this path for you. No one can cleanse your mind for you. No one can give you peace. You must discover it within yourself. And now you have. The realization has begun. The old patterns are breaking. The suffering is losing its grip. Look at yourself now. You are no longer a prisoner of your emotions. When negativity rises, you see it, acknowledge it, and let it pass. No resistance, no struggle. You are like the river, flowing effortlessly around the rocks. The river does not fight the obstacles in its path. It simply moves past them. And so do you. This is the final step. Not to change, not to force, not to escape, but to accept. Accept that negative energy exists, but it does not have to control you. Accept that emotions will come, but they will also go. Accept that the world is imperfect, but you can still find peace within it. This is not a lesson to be learned once and forgotten. It is a practice, a way of living. And now, before we part ways, I have one last request. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of people subscribe. If this journey has helped you, if you have found even a small moment of peace, then please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And most importantly, share your thoughts below. Your voice matters. Your experience matters. Let us grow together. Now breathe again. Deep, slow, steady. Feel the space between thoughts. Feel the silence within. This is where true peace begins. You do not need to remove negative energy. You only need to stop holding on to it. Let go. Be free. This is the path. And now, you know the way.